My name's Karen Boone. I am from Billericay in Essex. I am a female electrician. I cover mostly domestic, can do commercial. I like to work where I live and stay within sort of a 20-mile radius to do work, but I can travel for bigger projects. It's just me, but I do have backup with a couple of other sparkies for bigger jobs. And my company is She's Electric. I was asked by the careers advisor to think about what I was good at. I was good at English and I was good at typing. So she suggested that I went to college and did a medical secretarial course, which I did for a year, and I was bored. I was really good at it, but I didn't really want to do that. So I went back to the careers advisor and she said, well, what do you really like doing? It's like, well, I really like cooking. And she said, maybe you should go to catering college. So I was like, okay, I'll go and do that, which I did. And I did a diploma in hotel catering management, and I absolutely loved it. And I was going to go on and do further education in that role. And in the school holidays, I got a job temping at a plumbing and heating supply company. And I really was fascinated by the industry. And the manager of that particular branch said, we really like you, would you like to stay on here? I was like, not doing typing, however, I'd really like to learn more about the business, and have you ever had an apprentice? And he said, no, we've never had an apprentice. He said, but I'm going to make some inquiries. And by the end of the day, I became that company's first ever apprentice. So that was really exciting. I started in the warehouse and I worked my way up to learn the purchasing, learn sales, and I absolutely loved working there. And then the company decided that they were going to go computerised for a sales order entry system, and they wanted people to join an implementation team to learn the new software technology and be able to roll it out across the company. So I thought, that's a great opportunity, so I applied for that, got accepted on that, and that really was a tipping point for me, because I then became an IT specialist rather than just an apprentice in the plumbing and heating industry. I absolutely loved that job. I did it for about 5 years. I travelled the country training people how to use the software and rolling out across all the branches. And then the recession hit and I got made redundant. So I was like, what am I going to do now? So I started to apply for IT training positions in London, and this was at the time when Microsoft Office had just been released. So I was fortunate enough to be accepted by a training company who then trained me in Microsoft Office. And then I became a Microsoft Office training specialist and had a great time working in London, got picked up by a big law firm, and by the time I sort of got married, I was global IT training manager for one of the top 5 law firms. So I was like, this is great. But I knew that having children, it wasn't a job that I wanted to go back to because it involved a lot of travelling. So I got a job with a bank, heading up a smaller team in the IT department. Then I got married and had my children and took a career break because I wanted to bring my children up. And then children got a bit older and I got a bit restless, and a friend of mine asked me to look after her house whilst it was being let out because she'd emigrated. It was the first time in my entire life that I'd ever needed an electrician. So I set about trying to find one, and I was a little bit disheartened with the responses that I got. You know, I got people that promised to come and quote and they never came. People came, but they were a little bit rude. And then I just found it really difficult to get anybody that actually wanted to do what was quite a small job. So I thought to myself, wow, is there a gap in the market here for somebody who will just turn up when they say they're going to turn up, be polite to people, treat people with a little bit of respect, and also be happy to come and do a small job. So I started to look at how I could get into the industry. then I was a bit disheartened again, because there's no real route in for a mature person, not just a woman, but anybody really who wants to enter the trade. There's no funding available, you're too old to be an apprentice. So really the only option you've got is to find colleges that offer courses, which are very much frowned upon in the industry. And I do understand why. You know, there's no way that you can go on a 5-week course and come out of that with a City and Guilds qualification in the latest edition of the wiring regs and say, I'm an electrician. Because you're not. You are somebody that's been on a course and has got some bits of paper that will allow you then to go and gain some further experience and have the right bits of paper to get the right insurance and to join competent person schemes. So really then what I had to do after going on my course was find somebody who was willing to mentor me, to let me shadow them at work, to let me bring some jobs in and come and help me with those. And that's kind of what I did, so that's where I fell into the trade, so to speak. Well, I'd never had my own business before, and obviously it's a big step, but I knew that I wanted to be my own boss and have my own identity. I was massively fortunate, and a really good friend of mine, when she found out that I was considering training, she went, that's amazing, and you will call yourself She's Electric. And her husband, who's a massively talented designer, created my logo for me, and literally She's Electric was born from that day. And I kind of I loved it. You know, She's Electric is Karen Boom, is She's Electric, it's, you know, it just feels very natural. Starting my own business, yeah, that was hard. I had to think about transport. I started off actually in a mini clubman and had it sign written, and it did look amazing. However, and I could get a pair of steps in with the seats down, but then I had to keep taking everything out to get the kids in the back, so that became a bit of a chore. I had to go out and buy tools, a testing kit, get a website built, and I spent hours and hours and hours of research, kind of trying to come up with the right, you know, appearance. But I was lucky, like I said, I found somebody who had exclusively worked for a builder. He was quite young and he wanted to set up his own business. So he had all the skills but no work, and I had quite a lot of work but not always the right skill set. So we worked together for a while, and that was amazing. And some days I would do the job and he would watch and mentor, and some days if it was beyond my skill set he would do the job but I would watch and learn. So it was the best, you know, on-the-job training. I had quite a lot of support from friends, and you know, I went and opened a business account. I joined a competent person scheme, which enabled you to be able to sign off your own work. There was quite a lot of resources there. The NIC, EIC, who are another regulatory body, they had just started a campaign called Jobs for the Girls, which was quite good. I went to their head office in Dunstable on occasions, and they had like little small work group sessions where you could network with other women in the trades. And it just really has grown from there. The massive benefit is learning on the job, because there's no excuse for that. There's no replacement for that. The thing about the classroom is that everything works. You're wiring everything from scratch. You've wired it, you can see it. Yeah, you can make a light work, you can make a socket work, you can put all the wires into the fuse board to liven all the circuits up, and you can test it, and it all works. But the real challenge comes when somebody phones you up and says, the lights aren't working. And you get there, and you now in a fault finding situation, you've got to work out why the lights aren't working. They don't teach you that in the classroom, because they can't replicate a 60-year-old house with 60-year-old wiring with, you know, an extension that's been added on by a dodgy builder where the circuit hasn't been connected up properly, you know. And so without the on-the-job training and without getting that experience, you're not going to learn that in the classroom. It's impossible. You have to, to be called a qualified electrician, you have to have, obviously, the latest edition of the wiring regulations, that's City and Guilds. You have to have up to a level 3 City and Guilds qualification in, you know, understanding electrics and what they're all about. So you need a combination of the classroom and the on the job, on the tools experience. I think unfortunately the reason why the short course route has got such a bad rep is because there are people that go out there, they get all the bits of paper and then they think, oh, I've done a few DIY jobs in the past, so it'll be alright, I know what I'm doing. And anyway, when we learn physics at school, we're all taught how to liven up a circuit. You know, we have a little battery, we have wires and, you know, the live and the neutral flow, and we go, oh look, the light's working. That's one thing, but there's a massive difference between making something work and making something safe. And also there's a massive difference between being able to, you know, plug a toaster in and make a bit of toast, and also not understanding that you're overloading a circuit because it hasn't been wired correctly. And that's why you need the both. You need the understanding which will come from the college, and then you're going to need to understand how to fault find and how to do things correctly when you're out. Because in a classroom, you've got no obstacles. You know, you haven't got walls in the way, you haven't got steels in the way. You've got no structural barriers really. Sometimes when I go to do a job, somebody will say to me, oh, can you add me an extra socket? Yeah, I can do that. How long do you think that's going to take you? And I look at it and I think, well, 4 hours. And they say, oh, but it's only an extra socket. And I'm like, well, yes, but the actual wiring of the socket will take me 2 minutes, but it will take me 3 hours and 58 minutes to get the cable from that socket around all the structural obstacles to that socket. It's not Wi-Fi. And they're like, oh, okay. And people say, oh, but it's only a small job. I'm like, well, in your opinion, it's only a small job, but you don't know what you don't know. So it's just the way that City and Guilds structure the course. You do level 1, which is really lots to do with like health and safety, safe working practices. Then the level 2, you'll be getting more involved in practical things. You know, actually physically how to run cables correctly, you know, why they're done in a certain way. And then level 3 is more to do with the actual understanding of the principles of electricity really. Yeah, it's just the way the City and Guilds use the terminology. And then on top of that, there are other qualifications that you can do. So that to get up to level 3 and to have your latest edition of the wiring regulations, that's kind of the minimum that you'll need. Then there's another qualification called inspection and testing, which which I recommend that everybody has, because that will allow you to use your test equipment in the best possible way. That is invaluable when you're diagnosing faults. It will allow you to do things like inspections in houses for new buyers, for example, to do things like electrical installation condition reports, which is something that landlords need to have done when they change tenancy, for example. So yeah, there's definitely things that you can build on. So there's a minimum that you've got to have, and then there's, if you want to add kudos to your brand, you'll want to be adding all these things on as well. But you know, these things take time. You kind of do need to have a little bit of the college learning, and then a little bit of on the job, so that you can put it into practice and also come across things to allow that knowledge to sink in to the right level that you can go, okay, I understand that now what's next? It is a bit mind-blowing when you go on a course and then you've got all these things lined up. You don't really have enough time to let all that information sink in. So it can be a bit overwhelming. I mean, it's taken me, I would honestly say that, yes, I did my course, I spread it out over the course of a year. I would say it took me a good 3 years of being in my own business, going out and doing a little bit of my own work, working with other sparks, before I got to a point where I thought, oh, yeah, this is actually starting to make sense now, and feeling confident enough to say, yes, I feel like I can tackle most things now and, you know, not be too much out of my comfort zone all the time. Well, first of all, I was in a position where I had to go and open some trade accounts with wholesalers, and so I had to go in and overcome the perception that they thought that I was there to collect something for my husband. You know, I got some really weird comments. It's like, oh, have you come to collect an order? What name is it under? And I was like, no, I'm actually here to open an account. Oh, because it's traditionally women don't walk into an electrical wholesaler and open an account, so you know, have to be forgiven for that. The second hurdle was product knowledge. You know, I was entering an industry where everything was foreign. Really, might as well have been written in a different language. So I had to learn very quickly about what product was suitable for what application or installation and why. I mean, you know, this is going to sound hilarious, but one of the very first jobs that I ever went to do, it was a friend of a friend. They knew that I'd only recently qualified, and it was like, oh, I just need an extra socket add-in so I can put my TV on the wall. So I went round and I looked at it and I was like, okay, yeah, we can do that, and I'll do this and I'll do that, and it'll be great. And I went home, and a friend of mine, when I qualified, she bought me a powered SDS drill, and I thought, oh, this is amazing, you know, big drill. So I'd never actually installed a socket in a wall before. So I pulled the sofa out of my lounge and I put a dust sheet down, got my SDS drill out and started chiselling into the wall. Got the back box, made sure it was in there nice and flush. I was like, that's okay now, I feel more confident about going to do that. So that was all good. So I got up the next morning, loaded my tools in the car, went round, got all my tools out, put my dust sheet down, got my big drill out, and the client came and he said, oh, that's a nice drill. So we had a bit of tool banter, you know, it's like, oh, I really like that. I know, you're not going to actually use that on my wall, are you? I went, well, I was. He said, you do know it's a plasterboard wall? I was like, okay. And I just, again, it's all a learning curve. No, I hadn't checked the wall even to see what it was made of. It never occurred to me to do that. So packed my drill away, took it downstairs, came back up with my jab saw, you know, marked the box out, and off I went. But yeah, I mean, so that's a hurdle, because my background is not building, and a lot of this job is building, which I had never really considered. I just thought it was getting the cables out and wiring them together and making stuff work. So yeah, that was a hurdle. I have to say I've been really lucky. Maybe it's because of my age that I have found, on the whole, I've only ever been treated with respect. I've never been in a situation where I've been made to feel uncomfortable. So that's good. I know it does happen. And all I would say to people, girls, women who are considering this as a career, you know, that says more about them. And you're going to get that in every walk of life, you know. Sexual innuendo, sexual harassment, it happens everywhere. It's not exclusive to the building trade or the electrical industry, you know, and it's a two-way thing, you know, it can happen both ways as well. And, you know, in the trade, there is a lot of banter. And I've seen men upset by the banter, you know, because they can't take it. So you do have to just accept the fact that, you know, it's a thing, you're going to hear it. hopefully you'll be able to rise above it. I have a great mantra. It's just, just because other people are operating at that level, it doesn't mean that you have to get down there to that level. You stay at your own level, and hopefully you'll inspire them to want to get up there with you. But yeah, it doesn't always work. Well, I mean, again, there is a perception that whenever I walk into places, I'm there in a female capacity to do something for a man. That's definitely a thing. I will say that, I think I'm a great believer in you can't be what you can't see, and so that's why I want to get out there more so that people can see. And I'm a massive advocate of women in trades so that the next generation can see that it's not unusual. I mean, stereotypically growing up, we had like Bob the Builder, and all of the machinery was male. Wendy was like the token woman, and she went around clearing up after Bob. You've got programmes on the television like DIY SOS, for example, and everybody, with the exception of the interior designer, is a man, which I think is, in this day and age is pretty bad. Other than that, I think the stereotypes are there to be broken through. I think social media is massively helping us to break down stereotypes. I mean, there's lots of great examples on the internet of women having their own building companies, of women having their own plumbing companies. I mean, there is an organisation online called Stopcocks, and that is an all-female plumbing company. That's a franchise. They are massively supportive in encouraging other women and girls to become plumbers. In fact, they offer mentorship, they offer training, and they offer support once you've qualified, which is amazing. So yeah, I think the stereotypes are slowly starting to evaporate. It's going to take a while. If you look at the percentages, I think it's something as low as 3 or 4% of all women in the construction, of all employees in the construction industry are women, and that's even taking into account administration, site surveyors. So it is changing, but it will take a while. But I'm quite lucky because of my branding. I think that if people Google electrician Billericay and they see my website come up, it's fairly obvious that I'm going to be a woman arriving. And some people will choose me specifically for that reason, and some people will choose me specifically because I've been recommended, or they've looked at my reviews and thought, oh yeah, well, that's a good electrician. I will say that sometimes if I've been working with one of my colleagues who happen to be men, and I mean, I did have an instance recently where a really good friend of mine had said, can you pop in and have a look at my kitchen lights? I'm not going to be there, but my father-in-law will be in. And I said, yeah, that's no problem, I can call in at the end of the day. And I've had my male colleague with me, and the gentleman who opened the door welcomed us in. He found it very difficult to make eye contact with me, and he only spoke to my colleague. Now, it didn't worry me or bother me. I'm a massively empathic person, and I could see that he was actually quite uncomfortable. And it would have been interesting had I have gone on my own. I think actually it would have been better, but he just found it a little bit hard to not engage with my colleague. But I think that's the only time. There are also, I know for a fact that I've had a quote declined when I chased it up and said, oh, hope you've got the quote and haven't heard anything back from you. They said, oh yes, Karen, sorry, we were going to reply, just to say that. And we have had several quotes, and we felt that because of the level of physical activity involved, we didn't think that it would be appropriate to give you the job. Little do they know that on jobs where I know that it's really a two-person job, I've got backup who's 6'3" and built like a doll, you know, so they don't see that, they only see me arrive. So, but again, I think because of my age, I just take all that on the chin and move on from it. I think for a younger girl or a younger man entering the industry, I can see how they might take that as a knockback. I don't think that's exclusive to this industry. I think it happens in every walk of life. But yeah, I think it will change, but only if we are seen to be more the norm than the exception. And this is why, you know, getting all this stuff out there on the internet for people to see, on the TV for people to watch, is really important. There is definitely a shift happening. I mean, on one of the, I sit on a couple of forums on the internet, you know, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the like, that are specifically for women, and there is definitely changing. I can see that from some of the things that are happening there. There was recently a post that was put on where a media company was searching specifically for women who would like to be considered for a TV programme. And again, that was more about tackling diversity and showing that, you know, women can do the same job as men. So it's definitely happening, which is really refreshing to see. I would say never give up on your dream. Never let anybody tell you that it's not possible, because there were lots of people that said that to me and I've proven them all wrong. I would say get out there, do some research, ask questions. You know, I get at least 5 inquiries a week, and they come in through email, through LinkedIn, through Facebook, through Twitter, of people saying, have you got any advice? And my advice will always be network. So look on the internet, you will find lots of forums that are specifically for women in trades. Find out, look on the internet at other people's profiles. You know, look at my website, you'll see that there's several other very inspirational female tradespeople. I mean, one of the things that I did when I first started out was I found a female who happens to be a lighting specialist, and I basically stalked her on the internet. Just basically looked at her website and LinkedIn. I was like, oh yeah, I could do that. And she very openly tells her story on all of her social media. She's been featured in lots of press releases, and they're all there to see. And I think, yeah, have a role model, you know, have a vision, have a goal of where you want to get to, and just keep chipping away at it. You know, one day at a time. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and be, you know, the best female sparky in the world ever, but you can definitely get there through hard work. It will be hard work, so you have to be prepared for that, but it's definitely worth it, because there's a big, you know, realisation that if you think, I can be my own boss, I can set my own hours, I can earn a decent living and be a highly respected member of the community, you know, that's a big thing. I mean, I love helping people. I did go through a phase of wanting to join the police force when I was a little girl, and to some people, you know, being in a trade, being an electrician, being a plumber, you are the 4th emergency service for so many people. So yeah, you can have something that you can get a massive kick out of, but you have to be determined, and you have to really want it, and you have to just go for it. I do have a website. The address is www.she'selectric.uk.com. You'll find all the links to my social media on there. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter. There's also a contact me form, which comes through in the form of an email, and I do promise to respond to any emails that you send me.